All right, brother. We're all suited up and ready to go.
All right.
I'm super excited.
Let's
This
get
is
going.
going to be awesome. All right. Without further ado.
We are now descending to the first level.
I'll wait for you.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the land of Chem. I'm your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Now, today, an episode you all have been waiting for. An epic presentation and documentary finally revealing the function of the Osiris shaft. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. Now, to begin, what you are about to see is exclusive footage from two private special permission access entries into the Osiris shaft. The first in 2021 with my good friend Osireion, and the second from a recent Land of Chem tour, both of which laid the foundations for the research that was presented more than a year ago on the members-only channel in episode 9, that will finally be revealed here on the public channel to give you a preview of the type of exclusive research that is featured on the dark side of the Land of Chem YouTube channel. So if you want to help support, this is a great way to do that and contribute to the cause. Links to everything in the video description below. So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's journey into the depths of the Osiris shaft, 30 meters below the Giza plateau, with footage from my first adventure into the structure when, as soon as we began to descend the ladders, the electricity shut off and we had to do the whole thing in the dark. Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have all been waiting for. And I'm not even going to call this a door. We will call this a portal into the underworld of the Giza plateau. The Osiris shaft. And so you can see here, this is the pit leading down to the first level. And there are 3 levels in this system. And I'm going to be bringing you exclusive footage as Yusuf and I descend into the shaft to investigate the mysterious containers that are located 35 meters underneath the Giza plateau.
All right, brother. We're all suited up and ready to go.
All right.
I'm super excited.
Let's
This
get
is going to
going.
be awesome. All right. Without further ado.
We are now descending to the first level.
I'll wait for you.
Okay.
And here's Yusuf coming down to join me on the first level. And it does not get much more than private access than this, ladies and gentlemen.
So, usually, when we are wandering around the Giza plateau, we look through the shafts and we see a shaft that leads to somewhere else. But we never know where actually it leads to until we get down here.
Exactly.
So if you can look here, we are already on the bottom of the first level.
probably 20, 30 feet, about 10 meters.
About.
And this is below the causeway, because we just took that video from up there looking into that gate.
Yeah.
So
Now
you can...
imagine the challenge without this electricity.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is one of the other things. How could they create light down there? No torches, there is no oxygen.
And look.
Reflecting the light through these passages.
And this is something that we noticed in the Serapeum as well. There are no carbon deposits on the ceilings. And if this was dug out and explored with torches, you'd expect to see a pretty exceptional amount of soot down in here, which certainly don't. And this is step number 2. Yes.
Look, you will go first.
Is down this one.
And I will follow you.
Slowly but surely. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I am now down here in the second level of the Osiris shaft. And I am going to give you my first reaction to being down in here. I have waited 4 trips to Egypt and my entire life to do something like this. And they had the electricity turned on, which went out as soon as we started to climb down in here, which in my personal opinion makes it even more badass. And you can immediately see the shiny coating material that has been applied to this container. And when Yusuf gets down here, we are going to do a full discussion and explanation of exactly what this material is. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, a chemical analysis was done of this material. And when I tell you what it is as remarkable as the chemical analysis of the staining in the Red Pyramid. And it's an indication of the capabilities of this ancient civilization. And just a note, you can see the deposit of iron oxide there. Kind of no surprise whatsoever that we would find that down in here, because I truly believe that those iron oxide deposits are a functional part of this structure. You can see here another deposit up in that corner. And they say that originally all 6 of these housings were filled with containers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 housings down here, but only 2 boxes remain. And this one here is an absolutely magnificent artifact, and it is made of one of the most unusual materials ever found in Egypt. Specifically so because this material is not found in Egypt. It is not found in any other site in Egypt, no other container, nor are there deposits of this material anywhere in Egypt. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a material known as dacite. And it is said to have an extremely high content of crystalline quartz, microcrystalline quartz. So we've been discussing the properties of quartz crystal as related to the electromagnetic energy field that we tested on some of the stones of the pyramid geology. So first question is, where did they find the quarry for this material? Because you would have to have a massive deposit of dacite to be able to extract a piece large enough to be able to make a container out of one single piece. So this is an exceptionally rare material found in Egypt, or found in this site specifically. Second question is, how the hell did they get it all the way here? Clearly they were experts at extracting and moving stone, but it is an exceptionally long distance. And then as we turn back around, now that Yusuf's down here, we can discuss a little bit about the coating material that is found on here. And one other thing to mention, there have been other research expeditions down inside this shaft system, and they brought Geiger counters down in here. And they found that the level of radioactivity inside of these containers is significantly higher than the ambient radioactivity in the cavity itself. And I'm going to be showing some video from the research expedition and the research team that took the analysis and did the Geiger counter. But I'm going to cut and we'll be back in just a moment. And so, of course, my mind is going 100 miles an hour while I'm down here. And so these deposits of iron oxide start on the surface and they descend all the way down here. Look at that. Holy shit. That's like a bar of iron running through the top of this chamber. And it's pretty unusual. Let's see if I can. That there is a stream of iron running over the top of each one of these housings. Look, there is, okay. All right. Some of those iron deposits there. There's some there on the top. Those are all iron deposits on the ceiling. And there's some as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Yusuf and I are down here inside the second level of the Osiris shaft system. And as I was researching in preparation for this expedition, I came across a research team that had taken chemical analysis of the material that you see coating this container. Now, there's two separate layers in the analysis of this coating. So the first and external level is a coating of bitumen, tar, or pitch, which most likely came from the modern time. It's like axle grease. And there's a big wheel right behind us in this other chamber. So clearly they had modern equipment down inside of this chamber.
Archaeologists
extracting whatever from down in here. And I guarantee you that pitch came from the wheel as they were moving the lid or something of that nature, setting up the equipment down here. So the external layer is that modern bitumen, tar, pitch, or grease. However, the chemical analysis from yet another Russian research team has shown that there's a layer underneath that, an ancient layer of, once again, rare exotic metals. And the chemical composition of the
sealing layer, the coating layer that was originally applied to this container, is lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. So this ancient civilization not only had the knowledge of exotic metals, but the ability to extract them and create compounds that were utilized to seal these containers. And I mentioned already that there was Geiger counter readings taken from inside of these containers, and the radioactivity inside of these containers is significantly higher than the ambient here in the chamber. So these are very, very unusual containers indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, these are indicative of the knowledge and sophistication of this ancient civilization. So the question remains, what the hell are these things doing down here? And what was the function thereof? And that is why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, in the depths of the Giza Plateau in search of answers, the mysteries of ancient alchemy, and once again, the mysteries of ancient metallurgy.
You know, Jeff, I never heard of the original layer that you were just mentioning the analysis of, which makes me wonder right now. Who spilled this other type of oil, engine oil, on top of the box? And was that an accident?
Exactly.
And why it was not cleaned? You're down here, bro.
Thank you so much again,
Hey.
Yusuf, for
This is a real
amazing
adventure.
opportunity.
Yeah.
A lifelong dream come true. Down here, 35 meters underneath the Giza Plateau. Special permission.
And we still have a level to go.
One more to go.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one other thing to mention about these very unusual containers. So that same Russian research team did a new dating analysis of these stones. And the analysis technique involves analysis of chemical composition that is maintained in the crystalline material of the stone. And they can tell either when the stone was last exposed to the sun, which would give you the original quarrying date of the material, or the date that the material was brought here into the underground shaft. And that dating gives us a date of approximately 800 to 1,000 years prior to the construction of the monuments on the Giza Plateau. So 1,000 years before the dynastic period. These stones were extracted from the quarry and brought down here into the subterranean chamber. However, that dating analysis is also related to possibly being the last time that these stones were heated to a high temperature. And I'll show more analysis and breakdown of that explanation in the video from the research team. But this dating analysis technique will either give you a reading on when that stone was last exposed to the sun, or when that stone was last heated to a high temperature. And that second factor is directly related to what I propose, or will be proposing, are the function of these containers. So let's say that 1,000 years prior to the construction of the Giza Plateau, or the conventional date, rather, of the construction of the Giza Plateau, these containers were here in the subterranean system, getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So what exactly was the function of these containers that are coated with rare exotic metals and contain traces of radioactivity inside of the cavity itself? An absolutely spectacular mystery that I am so unbelievably grateful to be a part of. It is truly amazing and a blessing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just made it down into the third
and final level.
And this is not what I was expecting. Look at this. Crystal clear water. And in the center of that water, you can see the container. And surrounding that container, you can see the remains of the 4 pillars that were originally down here. 2. There's 1. There's 1. And you can see here this piece of wood and rope that they most likely had a pulley on that was attached to move and remove that lid. And once again, they found nothing inside of that container. Man, if it was safe to do so, imagine taking a little swim around in this thing.
Been there, done that. But not anymore.
If you got some waders on and some good shoes, you can go in there. Man, this is absolutely amazing. And I don't know if they've gotten what type of... Yusuf, do you know if they know the type of stone?
It's black granite.
Black granite.
Like cyanide, similar to the one in the Serapeum of Saqqara.
So, but look at
Is
just
there
how...
enough space for me to come?
Yeah, come on. I'll scoot out of the way. Look at how crystal clear that water is. And I'm trying to envision what this chamber would have been like in its original condition. And it's just unbelievably mind-blowing that this type of structure exists this far underneath the Giza plateau. And this is just one shaft. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of these shaft systems.
It's not the largest.
And like Yusuf, you might have heard Yusuf above me coming down this ladder. It's not even the largest. So what would they find if they excavated all of these other shaft systems? How many more of these subterranean chambers and these spectacular containers made of rare geology and coated with exotic metals? What else is buried underneath the Giza plateau? Well, we will probably never find out, but step by step, we are extracting the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Stay tuned for more. Here, from the land of Chem, in the depths of the land of Chem, 100 feet, 35 meters underneath the Giza plateau, in the 3rd level of the Osiris shaft.
And ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Osireion, as we begin our ascent
Time to ascend.
back to the surface of the Giza plateau. And as we said before, this is the 2022
Land of Chem, Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Tour.
and we are literally in the process of being brought back to life as we ascend back to the sunshine of the Giza plateau.
This has been an absolutely spectacular experience, a one of a kind. Hopefully not once in a lifetime, but just the first of many expeditions down here into the depths of the Osiris shaft. Once again, thank you so much to Yusuf and the Kemet School of Ancient Mysticism for bringing me down in here. The Osiris shaft, ladies and gentlemen, here from the land of Chem. All right, everyone. And here is my brother Yusuf ascending the staircase from the 2nd level of the Osiris shaft system. And having just done that myself, it is no easy task to get down or up there.
watch as Yusuf makes his way. You can see how dusty it is in here. Whew. Whew. Almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the video, and please remember to subscribe if you are interested in the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from around the world. And if you want to help support the channel and get access to exclusive research content, check out the members-only channel, now up to 25 absolute banger videos. We also have 3 other channels. The new name for my wife Alexa's channel is Archaeoalchemy, a revolutionary new field of ancient site investigation coined by her exclusively. Let's go with Lex and G and the best channel on YouTube, Egyptian Street Cats, for all you cat lovers out there. And if you are interested in joining for the upcoming Land of Chem tour, please send me an email to contact@thelandofchem.com, subject line 2025 Egypt tour, and I will send you the full tour itinerary and pricing details. Links to everything in the video description below. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much. Now, back to the video.
All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. And to begin, here is a case of radioactive uranium ore mineral samples at the Mineralogical Museum in Lebanon. These images in the video you are about to see were sent to me by one of my tour guests after seeing this exact same green glow inside the containers on the second level of the Osiris shaft. This glowing phenomenon is known as UV fluorescence. And I will read this excerpt here to clarify the types of metal or minerals that elicit this response when irradiated with UV light. Most minerals do not have a noticeable fluorescence. Only about 15% of minerals have a fluorescence that is visible to people, and some specimens of these minerals will not fluoresce. Fluorescence usually occurs when specific impurities known as activators are present within the mineral. These activators are typically cations of metals such as tungsten, molybdenum, lead, boron, titanium, manganese, uranium, and chromium. Rare earth elements such as europium, terbium, dysprosium, and yttrium are also known to contribute to the fluorescence phenomenon. And remember that all of these metals have been found not only in the black sand, heavy metal mineral placer deposits that cover the northern coast of Egypt, the true chem or black earth of ancient Egypt, but all of these metals are also found in the chemical analysis of the iron oxide deposits across the Giza plateau. All right, now, let's first take a look at the uranium ore samples in the museum so you can see what this green fluorescence phenomenon looks like.
The heck is this? Okay, I'm gonna take a video and send to him. You send it?
That's what I was thinking. Yes, do it.
Okay, just one minute.
All right, now I'll show you a few clips demonstrating the same green fluorescent glow emanating from some fragments and liquid found inside the containers on the second level of the Osiris shaft system, which you can see right here. And if you watch closely, you will also see the green glow appear in the cracks and on the surface of the container as I scan it with the UV light. Check this out.
And I'll get into discussing what all of this is.
Interesting. I thought there would be something. Green?
Yep.
What? Oh shit, my phone.
And just as a teaser for another upcoming episode, this green fluorescent phenomenon of uranium and other heavy metals such as lead, titanium, and arsenic, all of which I'll be getting to in just a moment, may be a deep esoteric secret encoded in the depiction of Osiris, known as the Green Man, the ancient god of fluorescent, perhaps radioactive metals. Now we're off to a good start. Let's go. Next up. In the early 2000s, a team led by Ioannis Laritsis, in conjunction with Dr. Robert Temple, were granted access by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities to examine several ancient sites in Egypt, and their research included sample extraction for the purposes of surface luminescence dating, as well as mineralogical, petrological, and radioactivity aspect assessment of these constructions. Here you can see a picture from their expedition into the Osiris shaft, showing the portable gamma ray detector here, next to container 1 on the second level. And in the bottom picture, this is the location of the sample taken from the black granite container on the third bottom level. And at this time, the water was still pumped out from this chamber, giving them exceptional access to this black granite component. Now, on to the first assessment, the surface luminescence dating. And this is how it works. Surface luminescence dating works as follows. During the process of the preparation of the stone blocks, i.e. cutting or carving them out of the quarry, and prior to setting one upon another in the construction of the building, solar radiation bleaches the stored geological luminescence in the carved stone surface, down to a depth determined by the depth of penetration of light in that material. This exposure, just minutes, required for quartz and feldspar-bearing rocks used here, i.e. granite and sandstone, erases the luminescence to a 0 or a near 0 residual value. On construction, shielding of the surface occurs, and reaccumulation of archaeoluminescence is initiated due to irradiation from ambient radioactivity, and continues till excavation and measurement. So when a stone is within the quarry, it is absorbing free electrons from the surrounding radiation of its environment. Once that stone is cut from the quarry and exposed to sunlight, those electrons are bleached out of the crystal, which sets the clock to 0. Then later, when that stone has been placed inside the construction, away from sunlight, it begins to absorb the electrons from the environment again, which allows a date to be calculated from the time when the stone was originally quarried and then placed inside of the construction. So this technique was applied to the dacite container. And it was determined that this stone is from 2930 BCE plus or minus 600 years. That gives a date as old as 3530 BC, which is approximately 1,000 years older than the conventional 4th dynasty Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure pyramid constructions on the surface of the Giza Plateau. However, there is one very compelling caveat about this dating technique, which is that this methodology can also be applied to determining when the stone was last heated to a high temperature, as you can see here. The events which zero the pre-existing geo or archaeoluminescence are intentional, i.e. through construction, or accidental exposure to daylight, which provides sufficiently energetic photons to induce zeroing. In the laboratory, this same process can be mimicked by heat, mostly up to 400 degrees Celsius. So heating the stone to a high temperature causes the exact same bleaching as the exposure to sunlight. So this date may not be the date when these stones were extracted from the quarry and placed into the Osiris shaft, but rather the last time this system was operational, as according to my theory, these containers would have absolutely been getting very, very hot. Now, let's take a look at some of the discussion presented in this paper, as there are a few extremely relevant details. And I'll quote here, "Today, the traditional theory prevails. That is, Giza was built as a funerary complex for the 4th dynasty pharaohs. However, the lack of contemporary human funerary remains from any Egyptian pyramid and the obvious astronomical and geometric nature of the sites that prove their orientation was not by chance, but inhere knowledge and star configuration patterns at the pyramid of construction, imply that the, quote, pyramids as tombs theory is no longer sufficient, and a broader determination of age, function, and reuse of both pyramids and Giza is required. The Old Kingdom monuments are a mystery, and the conventional dates have been questioned and critically dismissed." So they admit directly in this article that the pharaonic burial hypothesis is insufficient to explain the Egyptian pyramids, and that the dating systems have been contaminated by a variety of other factors, including preconceived perceptions of the timeline and later repurposing of the sites during the dynastic period. But they also state this: Table 1 summarizes the dated samples, though in several cases, no satisfactory results were accepted as they did not satisfy tests and criteria applied, and thus were not included in the table. Of course, this project was approved and supervised by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, and any archaeological investigation performed in conjunction with the powers that be, and their reported results have to fall in line with the accepted narrative. And it appears in this study, the calibration of the techniques was executed to fit these predetermined parameters, but some of the data still did not fit the story. So they had to throw it out, and it was not presented in the final results. Furthermore, and more significant, I'll quote here, regarding the second sarcophagus on the second level, the gamma ray reading was double inside the sarcophagus than outside. Also here, the radioactivity here is highest from all of our measurements, and taking into account radon emanation, it makes these chambers of particular but unknown usage. So now we are really getting somewhere, but there are a few more details to examine before I reveal my hypothesis on the function of the Osiris shaft. Next, on to this paper here, mineralogical, petrological, and radioactivity aspects of some building material from Old Kingdom Egyptian monuments, that was written by the same research team. And they determined that container 1 on the second level of the Osiris shaft is a material called dacite, a very rare type of stone that is not found anywhere else in the pyramids, temples, or monuments of Egypt. Which brings me to the unique and extremely functional composition of this stone. Dacite is composed of a similar material to that of granite. However, where red granite contains large pieces of quartz crystal, dacite contains microcrystalline quartz that can only be seen with a microscope. So remember that as the electric fields from the lightning strikes on the Giza plateau permeate these dielectric materials, they are going to produce ultrasound. This is due to the inverse piezoelectric properties of quartz that are utilized in modern devices like quartz oscillators and ultrasonic transducers, which operate on the exact same principle. And these pieces of quartz within the stone are acting like tiny little transmitters and amplifiers of these ultrasound frequencies. So if regular granite has a certain quantity and size of these crystalline quartz ultrasound generators, dacite has an exponentially higher quantity, making the stone vastly more effective for the transformation of electric fields into ultrasound. Now, to give you an idea of how rare and important this dacite stone truly is, to the construction and function of the Osiris shaft, here is a map showing the locations of dacite deposits that would be large enough to harvest a container of this size. Here and here in comparison to the location of the Osiris shaft. So they went through an extraordinary amount of work, not only to find this exceptional material, but to then quarry it and haul it all the way back to Giza, just to place it almost 60 feet underground in the tiny recessed corner of the Osiris shaft. So we have the primary black granite container on the third lowest level. And on the second level, we have container number 1, made from dacite in one of the housings. Now onto container number 2, which is made from black basalt. But the team discovered something very unusual coating the surface of this black basalt component. Underneath a layer of black, modern axle grease. And this grease is not some mysterious ancient goo, as others have suggested. It is 100% modern grease, which came from a wheel that is covered in the same grease, which was used during the archaeological excavation by Zahi Hawass and team that was left on the second level of the Osiris shaft, and you'll see that wheel here in just a moment. But they discovered under this black grease a metallic coating compound that covers the surface of this black basalt container, as you can see here. So now, before I proceed any further, let me take you along with me inside of the Osiris shaft, so you can see the inside of these chambers, and here our on-site discussion about the metallic coating compound and the function of this perplexing system. Let's go.
In the lowest portion of the chamber, the underwater section, it was a never before opened sarcophagus of Osiris. When they lifted the lid of this subterranean underwater container, they found it empty. So these A-frames and pulley systems are part of the modern archaeological excavation where they were using this to remove stuff. So what was taken out of these chambers, not 100% sure, but that's what this infrastructure is for. Okay, so now that we're all down here, several things to unpack about the construction itself. Okay, so again, we're in excavated bedrock below the Giza plateau. We talked about the veins of iron oxide running from the core of the pyramid, distributed across the plateau. And if you look, do you have the flashlight? If you look into these housings, you'll notice that there are veins of iron oxide running through these housings. And look at this thing. I mean, it looks like it could have been a bar of iron.
It's in a bar.
So again, no mercury was ever found in any of these deposits, but there's all of the other metals that you could possibly imagine.
Right.
So remember from our previous discussions that when the dielectric capacity of a material is exceeded, it spontaneously becomes a conductor. So let's say that that was the function of these iron bars down here inside the Osiris shaft, to distribute the electric field energy that was being received from these lightning strikes down into this chamber. And you'll notice that this bar of iron runs across the housing of each of these chambers. You can see it here. There's a huge, thick deposit here. Another one over here that led into this. This is all a huge deposit of iron that has been removed out of here. So either the electric field via dielectric distribution of electric fields, or if it was spontaneously turning into a conductor because its dielectric capacity had been exceeded. Either way, you're getting electric fields or electric current energy being distributed into this subterranean chamber. You'll see here that there's still some deposits at the top of each one of these. They may look small, but the iron oxide is still inside all of these chambers. Okay? Now you'll notice in this one, this is obviously modern equipment here. Not ancient, but modern. So the black grease that you can see all over this piece is the black grease that you can see here.
Yeah.
There's been some misrepresentation of what this black grease is. This is modern from the archaeological excavations that were down here. Modern axle grease. And there's some very special things about these two containers. So let's take a look over here at this one. This is a material that we have not seen before during our entire expedition. This is a material known as dacite. The closest dacite quarry is at the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula, which is an extremely far distance to get it all the way here into the subterranean chamber of the Osiris shaft. And I'll turn this off so you can all see that when we look inside of this container, if each one of you guys can come over here and take a look at the green glow of the material that's down in there. And it's kind of rotate out so everyone can get a chance to look in here real quick. Steve, come take a look. Can you see that? Well, that's the glow of the UV light. Look at the green on the left. Flecks of green. And dacite has an extremely high content of microcrystalline quartz. So we've already been talking about the function of quartz for ultrasound. Again, the finer the particles, the higher concentration of quartz you can get in the material, the more effective it is for producing ultrasonic vibrations. This container is black basalt. And we'll see that same green material inside of here. If you guys look in here, you can see some green ooze down in there.
I see it.
Okay.
What do you call that?
Dacite.
Dacite.
Correct. Analysis was taken of the surface layer of this container. And they found the external layer of tar, bitumen, or pitch, a petroleum-based compound. Again, modern axle grease coming from this wheel over here, or some of the modern equipment that was used in the archaeological excavations. But they also found a layer of 5 different metals: iron, arsenic, lead, titanium, and zinc. So today, we have an exceptional material known as PZT. What is PZT made out of? Lead, zirconium, and titanium. So they found a very similar metallic chemical composition to PZT coating this container.
What's PCT?
Get to that in just a second. So PZT is a material that we use in modern ultrasonic transducers for the production of ultrasound. Okay? So this material back here, the dacite container, has tons of crystalline quartz. Black basalt does not have crystalline quartz. However, if you coat it with a material that can substitute the quartz content, it can function the same way. So instead of using quartz ultrasonic transducers, you now have a coating material that can also create these ultrasound vibrations.
So you're saying like they coated this because they didn't have any more.
Didn't have the same material, correct? The same chemical and mineral composition of the stone itself. So dacite, again, microcrystalline quartz. So it has an extremely high quartz content.
Okay.
Black basalt does not. But again, if you coat it with PZT, the entire thing becomes an ultrasonic transducer. And we were talking about yesterday during our private special permission into the Great Pyramid, how that container,
In a king chamber.
correct, is like an amplifier for the production of ultrasound vibrations in the chamber. Same thing is true of these chambers down here. And there was most likely one of these containers originally in each one of these housings. They don't know what happened to them. These are the only two that are left. But it's believed that all of these housings held a similar container.
Would you say 6 of them or 7?
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 7th one is actually the shaft leading to the 7th container. So a total of 7 containers within the system.
Okay.
6 on this level, 1
One down
on the
there.
subterranean level.
How does the dasa compare to bluestone?
Similar in its
So those burials on the plateau, they're ancient burials or are they more recent?
Well,
videos, guys, no, okay? I mean, Pharaonic period? Okay. They are, they're from that period? No.
the Ptolemaic is even post.
Yeah.
Notice the patterns and how they carved it. They carved it like a herringbone pattern.
Yeah. That must be the,
Look how they carved. No, that's gotta be original, because it's on this wall over here too and over here. They carved it in a herringbone pattern.
By the way, I found all of these patterns, these cutting patterns all over Lebanon. You know, the stone of the pregnant woman, the biggest stone.
So and really there's nowhere for
You know, the hand, we have the biggest, 1,800 tons.
no, that's the
This one. See, have you ever seen this? The biggest stone in the world is red stone. This is 1,200 tons, this is 1,600 or 800.
Yeah.
Okay, I showed Jacob going crazy.
Is Petra in Lebanon?
No, Petra is important. And you have to go there too.
So many places to
Oh,
go.
I just got a location.
So many artifacts.
and they sent a kid down into that shaft, and the Japanese robot, and it still goes further and further and further. They didn't do the full exploration because it's still blood, they have to remove all the blood and come back with a new piece of blood. You can see how crystal clear the water.
I'm like hunting megalithic sites, so I have like 16 or 18 sites that I know of, where there are huge different anomalies and huge rocks.
He's been to a lot of places.
That's where I went.
Charles, can you take a picture? Can you put the whole thing in? Because the top of the box is so forgotten.
Well, I believe it's probably a very spectacular looking artifact.
And it looks like the top left side is,
That's nice. Wow.
I wish we could go swimming in there.
Yep. Talk about ancient bacteria.
Yeah. Oh, and I see the spider. It's like coming out.
So that one does look like a shell.
Yeah, it's still, I mean.
water in the toilet.
Oh, so you can't go up or down.
Well, you can if you want to get your shoes wet.
I would recommend not doing that.
If you want, let's keep it inside.
Yeah. You can.
I think it might be a piece
Yeah,
of
like
like
lost underwater.
Yeah, I don't wanna get my shoes wet.
It's fine if you would, if
I
you
think
set
it's
your back
basically
against the
like
wall
this.
and you get all the way down.
Okay.
Alright, next one.
Shit. That is
Oh, there's
crazy.
lots of water down there.
Just wait till you guys see how big that box is.
Which reminds me
It's
of
way bigger than this.
an Ohio outdoor.
It's like the size of one of the cut outs. Like the whole entire thing. In manufacturing, at my company, we actually ultrasonically weld things. Yeah, plastics to plastics. And you use ultrasonic beam, and it makes beads like this. It makes beading, kind of like welding knives. Like you have a bead line. Bead? Yeah, bead. Okay. Basically an ultrasonic laser. And just moving it through.
But I get the impression that it was, and that's why they were doing such high tolerance. So they pop the lid off and then put it back on straight. So that I'm certain that they knew the level of the water. And the construction of this thing was planned intentionally, so that they would tap into this subterranean chamber. Now, they also have to be able to pump it out, get this thing down in here, and do all this other work. So that's another entire aspect of the construction process of this chamber, which because we had to use modern pumps to pump all this water out.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't necessarily, I mean, if there were a natural cavern, say this was small, whatever water level was in there, you wouldn't have to completely fill the cavern.
All right, so now you're in the subterranean third and lowest chamber of the Osiris shaft. And here in the center is the black granite container. And there's a rectangular housing that goes around the container in the center. You can see the lid here has been lifted up and just moved over to the side. So that's why it's off at a diagonal here. In the corner, you can see the remains of the 4 pillars that once surrounded the central container. And if you crouch down and look back here into the northwestern corner, you can see the tunnel that I was discussing in the previous episode regarding the Osiris shaft tunnel system. And you can look and see how crystal clear all this water is. If there wasn't this debris on the surface, I mean, it would just be immaculately clear. So this is an indication of a subterranean water source, an independent aquifer directly below the structure that is not tapped into the Nile, because the water in here does not fluctuate. We know the Nile River isn't anywhere close to this structure now. So the water source underneath this structure is completely independent and enclosed aquifer.
I don't know if I can reach the tunnel.
So back in that corner is the tunnel system that I showed in the previous episode that was excavated by the joint team between the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities and the Japanese team that sent the robot up there. There's a good shot of the container.
All right, everyone, just a quick announcement. The first book in the Land of Chem series is now back in stock. This gorgeous Egyptian Blue second edition is the exact same text as the first print, but now featuring the new blue color design. Also, a brand new merch shop is up and running, featuring all of your favorite logos, tons of new color options, and my personal favorite, stickers. So whether you are sticking these to the bottom of your skateboard or plastering the walls of your office bathroom stalls, go grab some now and put them everywhere you can find a spot. All available at thelandofchem.com. Thank you all so much for the support. Now, back to the video.
All right, now that you've seen the system and heard the on-site explanation, let's dive a bit deeper into the function of these containers, specifically the black basalt container coated with lead, zinc, and titanium, along with traces of arsenic and iron. First, they were utilizing the heat storage properties of the black basalt to maintain the high temperatures inside of this underground chamber while it was operational, after being activated by the electric fields coursing through the Giza plateau after lightning strikes. In addition to the heat storage properties, they also added this metallic coating compound, which transformed it from a simple thermal regulator into an incredibly effective ultrasound generator. As you can see here, today we use a material known as PZT, lead zirconium titanate, which is an extremely effective ultrasound transducer. Given that the black basalt has no crystalline quartz, this coating of lead, zinc, and titanium was used as a substitute for the quartz that now produced high-intensity ultrasound waves. The same high-intensity ultrasound that was being produced by the microcrystalline quartz inside the dacite container. So what were they doing with these ultrasound waves being generated inside of this underground chamber system? That brings us to another massive application for the sonochemistry that I have introduced regarding the function of the Great Pyramid. Coming from one of the first journals that I presented on this topic, as you can see here, ultrasound is extremely effective at creating nanoparticles. There are so many articles on this function that I could spend hours going over the research, but I will summarize a few points here. The power of ultrasound for the production of nanomaterials. Sonochemistry is now well recognized as a technique for the fabrication of nanomaterials. Next, synthetic chemistry of nanomaterials. Sonochemistry was one of the earliest techniques used to prepare nanomaterials. Nanomaterials can be easily prepared using the ultrasonic method. Furthermore, the sonochemical method is superior to all other techniques in the following topics related to nanomaterials, and then they list several here. And here again, research revealed that favorable products were synthesized at ambient pressure in short reaction times utilizing ultrasound. And they show this image of a very relevant experiment, as you can see here, that shows a solution of dissolved metals being irradiated in an ultrasound bath to create metal nanoparticles. Dissolved metals and metal nanoparticles. This should be sounding very familiar, and once again, it was all about the gold. As you can see here, understanding the relationship between particle size and ultrasonic treatment during the synthesis of metal nanoparticles. Ultrasound-assisted synthesis of gold nanoparticle, supported on B-cyclodextrin for catalytic reduction of nitrophenols. Another one here, ultrasound-assisted green synthesis of gold nanoparticles utilizing citrus peel extract and their enhanced anti-inflammatory activity. Another one here, effect of ultrasonic irradiation power on sonochemical synthesis of gold nanoparticles. And article after article showing how ultrasound can be used to produce metal nanoparticles, and more specifically, gold nanoparticles. Once again, the quote-unquote black art of sonochemistry brings us back to producing gold nanoparticles. And I want to clarify something. There is absolutely no such thing as monoatomic gold. It does not exist, and this nomenclature is a complete fantasy. In reality, the substance that is being created by dissolving gold and irradiating the solution with ultrasound is gold nanoparticles. And here are a few exceptional images to show these metal solutions being irradiated with ultrasound to produce extremely small nanoparticles. These ones here being copper nanoparticles, and you can see the difference in the size, shape, and regularity of the metal particles with no ultrasound compared to ultrasound irradiation. And here you can see the effects of varying intensity of the ultrasound from 0 watts to 500 watts on the quality of the nanoparticles being produced. The higher the intensity, the smaller and higher quality the nanoparticle. Hence, the incorporation of the microcrystalline dacite container in the black basalt PZT coated container to produce these high-intensity ultrasound waves within the Osiris shaft chamber system. Here, you can see the same process, this time referring to the production of gold nanoparticles. And this same concept of ultrasound irradiation to create nanoparticles was also incorporated into the function of the black basalt floor and red quartzite conduit system at the Pyramid of Nayusere in Abu Sir, where the black basalt temple floor maintained the temperature of the solution containing dissolved metal particles, and the nanoparticles were created as the solution flowed through the entire length of the red quartzite conduit, which also contains quartz for the production of ultrasound, thus explaining the distance of the conduit from the pyramid into the collection bowl, which is also red quartzite and maintained these suspended nanoparticles until they were removed from the basin. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Osiris shaft is a massive underground chamber system that was designed to harness electric fields from lightning and transform them into high-intensity ultrasound vibrations that were used to produce nanoparticles from solutions of dissolved metals that were being produced on the Giza plateau using the acidic product solution of the Great and Central Pyramid, interacting with the iron oxide ore deposits across the plateau. And a full, in-depth explanation of the mechanisms of operation within the Osiris shaft and the complete scope of the entire Giza Plateau system will be coming up soon, exclusively here on the Members Only channel. But there is one more thing before I conclude today's episode. The production of gold nanoparticles is one of the deepest secrets that has been buried and encoded into the symbolic veils of ancient alchemy going back to time immemorial. And you can see here the solutions created using gold nanoparticles vary in color depending on particle size. From a very beautiful violet color with larger gold nanoparticles to a ruby red color with much smaller gold nanoparticles. And this ruby red colloidal gold suspension is what is infused into the Lycurgus cup, allowing the glass to change colors from green to red when exposed to light. So in order to make this artifact, they had to know how to create gold nanoparticles. So in this episode, I have taken you from the blackness, the chem, the heavy metal, black sand mineral deposits that contain ores of uranium, titanium, etc., which are represented symbolically here in the black nigredo stage of the alchemical process, all the way through to the rubedo stage, known as the Red King, the production of the ruby red colloidal suspension of microscopic gold nanoparticles, created by the black alchemical art of ultrasound sonochemistry from ancient Egypt.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 170, the function of the Osiris shaft. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode in the series, exclusive new footage from our first expedition to investigate the function of the ancient structures from Japan. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube if you're interested in the technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world. Remember to click that little notification bell so you don't miss out on the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned if you want to help support the channel and get access to exclusive research like that presented in today's episode. Please check out the members-only channel and thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch. Links in the video description below. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our 3 other channels. My wife Alexa's channel, Archeo Alchemy, Let's Go with Lex and G, and the best channel on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats. All you cat lovers out there, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that's it for today's episode. I will see you next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.